So welcome back to week 14 of the M&M show. George, how'd you do this week?
Oh, it's a big week. Most leagues, it's the last week before the actual playoffs.
Before it gets real.
I'm hanging in the balance right now, Rick. To be honest with you, I have this one last game that we're playing tonight, or that NFL is playing tonight. I'm not actually playing it. I wouldn't make a very good player.
No, we'd be in trouble. No, I'm there with you. I'm in the playoffs in our league. You're in the playoffs in our league. We will not see each other next week. Somehow or another, that's not possible. But one of the two of us will get a bye, depending on what happens tonight. Although we were just discussing pre-show. You should be feeling pretty comfortable about that. So a lot of big things happened this weekend. A lot of big things. Crazy week in football. The Browns, I mean, I get it. It ended up being like a 6-point game, but that was not a 6-point game against Tennessee. The Browns dominated Tennessee for much of that game. The Colts got lucky and grabbed a fumble off a bad snap with about a minute to go in Houston. Pittsburgh full-on pooped the bed against Washington, which leads me to ask the question, can they be a really good playoff team in Pittsburgh without a running game?
So I think I've seen a lot of really good running backs kind of not perform against the Washington football team.
But the Steelers are different because when have their running backs performed this year? You're telling me if you're a Steelers fan, let's put ourselves in the seat of a Steelers fan. I'm excited to go to the playoffs with James Conner, Benny Snell, and Anthony McFarland, none of which have proved that they can run with any form of consistency against teams like we're talking about the playoffs now, teams with good defenses. The Colts, the Titans, the Colts, the Ravens theoretically, the Browns theoretically, right? Some teams that like have shown some penchant for being able to stop the run when they need to. Right? What if New England sneaks into the playoffs? I'm not saying New England's good enough to beat even offensively, although they put up 45 against just a helpless Charger team this weekend. Like it gets real in the playoffs. You got to be able to run the ball unless you're Peyton Manning.
Yeah, to your point, this is probably the worst I've seen the Steelers running game in quite some time.
Yeah.
Pre-Le'Veon Bell years and maybe even prior to that.
Yeah, no, it's been hard to watch. So we've got some things that just keep the NFC East keeps winning games. We just touched on Washington. Nobody saw that happening. Nobody saw the Giants beating Seattle. Nobody saw that.
Not at all.
Shocked. So and Seattle's still going to make the playoffs comfortably. But if I'm not mistaken, there's a new sheriff in town out there in the NFC West. Is there not?
I believe so. Would that be the Rams?
The Rams coming out of essentially nowhere to be the division leader there. And when we look at the playoff contests in the West, man, it is. And then we thought like the playoff, like don't get me wrong, the playoffs were a little messy in the East. But that's starting to kind of take itself. I said in the East and in the West. Good Lord. In the NFC, the playoffs in the NFC have just gotten downright ugly. Somehow or another, the Detroit Lions, who just fired their coach, are a game out of playoffs. They are a game out of being in the playoffs. The Vikings, mind you, at 6-6 are in the playoffs. The Cardinals are out. The Giants and Washington, one of those teams is going to win that division. Remember, we said 5 wins would win that division. Last week, we talked about that, but all those teams are probably going to have one more win. I'm wrong. I have to be wrong because they all play each other again. So there's going to be another win on top of the ones that Washington and New York had this week. And I'll tell you what, like Dallas is very unlikely to beat Baltimore tonight. We all know that.
Mhm.
But like they could, I wouldn't be utterly shocked. So
I
kudos
would be. I don't think that's going to happen, but um,
kudos the point is kudos to the East for being at least a little bit better than what we were giving them credit for.
yes,
At least a
I
little bit. Not
I
full dog shit, just mostly dog shit.
I always felt like Washington is a decent team
Sure.
with defense. Alex Smith, he's not great for fantasy by any stretch of the imagination. Like he beat the Steelers yesterday, and he had like one of the lowest fantasy games that you can possibly have. But he gets the job done. He's a game manager, just like he was on the Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes came to town. So I still think Washington's going to take it, but Giants are looking good too.
Giants were looking
They're
good.
looking better.
We also had a great week, George. Like, man, our if you tuned into our show when you started the people we asked you to start, they were on your team. You probably had, and like one of those guys, by the way, T.Y. Hilton was on a lot of free agent list. Okay,
Oh yeah.
Ty had a monster game, and I think that's gonna like I think you're gonna continue to see him have big games throughout the rest of the season. Pretty soft schedule for the Colts coming up, aside from the one random game against the Steelers towards the end of the season. Jefferson, we had a monster game with Jefferson. Taylor's back. He had a nice big game, nearly 100 yards rushing, had a 30-yard touchdown catch on a fourth down play. My boy Cousins had a good game. Your boy Josh Allen had a monster game last night against. Supposedly they tell us that San Francisco defense is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to listen to us out there, ladies and gents. The M&M Show. We know what we're talking about. We're out here.
Yeah.
We're out here trying to win some fantasy football for you.
That's all we're trying to do.
All we're trying to do. All we're trying to do. I'll tell you what. One of the things I hated this last week, and I was right about this too. You didn't know. You still don't know which Rams running back is gonna get the ball. Now, ultimately, Henderson had a decent game. He had a tutter. Brown didn't have anything. I think he's fallen to the bottom of that order. And I think Akers actually was one who started the game. So we're the Rams running backs are still all over the place. What has started to at least show though is Brandon Cooks is probably still not the number one receiver in Houston.
Yeah.
And I think you went and didn't you go get Kiki Kute?
Kiki Kute. Yeah, I went and got him in a couple of leagues because you always want to anticipate the narrative. So, like, if you think that there's a chance that somebody's going to really go off because they have the talent, they just haven't had the maybe the snaps, get them, and then you could always drop them later. So I picked up Kiki Kute in 3 leagues. One of them being a dynasty league. So then, like, if there's any issues, any prolonged issues with some of the behavior problems out there in Houston, Kiki is going to be a good number 2 receiver or number 1 receiver, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see them. I mean, Brandon Cooks is going to be on the move again. That's what's going to happen there. They're going to keep Fuller. Yeah, he's a rental, and that's fine. Guy's like 25 years old, by the way. He's still a kid. He's played for what, like 5 NFL teams? It's insane. He's a talented kid. I don't know. There's got to be a problem there with the way they keep moving him around, but whatever. That's not my problem. So yeah, we've got some of that going on. So it's crazy. We had the true faults we were playing. We asked about the Browns. Are they going to win a playoff game? I think they're trending and showing you like they are absolutely going to be capable of winning that playoff game. And it's going to be funny because they're going to be playing probably maybe they'll probably play the winner of the AFC South. So that's going to end up being the Colts or Tennessee, both of whom they beat during the regular season. So they're going to go in confident.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's they have a chance. I think really it comes down to a Baker Mayfield if he can get it done in his first real playoff contention.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. We'll see how Baltimore does tonight. They're obviously still in the playoff contention. The Colts are now leading that division again in the AFC South. So we'll see what happens there. Pretty soft schedule. And the Saints still look good. And we'll see what happens. What ends up happening with those Cardinals, because they did not.
No, did not look good. Ult- Ultimately, I think Kyler Murray is kind of hot and cold.
They got to get that shoulder right for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, I need him for my fantasy playoffs coming up. I need that shoulder to get right
Sure.
now. So we'll see what happens there. George, we talked about how well we did with the Loves last week with Cousins and Josh Allen and JT. Who do you got this week, though? Who's out there making you say, you know what, love this guy. If you've got him, start him. He's going to have a big week. And this is, I know we're getting into some repeats for you, and I know you don't love that, but let's see what you got for us this week. Who do you love?
Oh, so no repeats this week, or at least I don't think so, which is pretty amazing considering.
I thought you ran out of players. Look at you.
I'm getting there. I don't remember if I'm gonna finally put Lamar Jackson in. He's going to be playing the Browns, which is it's just a game that he could usually play. He could usually play the Browns pretty tough. So I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. I don't think I've picked him all year because I have not felt good about him all year. But I need a big game from him tonight against Dallas. A real big game from him against Dallas and Hollywood Brown as well. And I'm picking him. I'm going from Josh Allen to Lamar Jackson, from one running quarterback to the other, although one has an arm and one does not.
One has an arm. That's definitely accurate. One of those two has a cannon attached to his shoulder. My quarterback this week, I'm going back to it. I picked him a couple weeks ago. I left him off on the bench last week, but I'm gonna start him again this week. I actually got two in my dynasty league. Whether or not, I'm picking from them. So I've got Tampa Tom playing against the Vikings, and I like that matchup. I really do like that matchup. But I've also got my boy Philip Rivers playing on the road in Vegas. I'll tell you what, you look at that Vegas defense.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I feel like I would struggle to find, outside of maybe Dallas, a defense that has given up more points this season than Vegas. Okay. Now I'm gonna rattle this off for you, and I'm sticking, like, it's gonna be not Cousins. It's gonna be Philip Rivers, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 30 points, 24 points, 20 points, 23 points, 32 points, 20 points, 6, and a win, by the way. Somehow they only gave 6 points to the Browns. 26 points, 12 points, 31, and then 6 against the Falcons. They got 28 points and should have lost to Sam Darnold and the Jets.
Yeah.
You called it. You said that game was going to be close. I said, no way. You got me. It was close.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. You give up 28 points to that Jets team. Taylor's going to have a big week. Rivers is going to have a big week. Like that, this Colts offense, that they should manhandle that defensive line in Vegas. So, spoiler alert, taking the Colts in the pick'ems. And I'm taking, I'll give you all three of mine. I'm going to triple stack it. I'm going Rivers, Taylor, TY, all three of them, big games, monster games, all three of my boys.
Wow. Okay.
Triple stack, baby. Triple stack it.
Put all your eggs in one basket.
Put them all in that basket. I'm going to put them all in that basket.
I like it.
Pittman might have a big game too. Hell, both of them will have big games.
Yeah. What's up with Pittman, do you think?
I mean, he had a good game the week before last. He just didn't have a monster game last week. Listen, when TY is on, it's hard. Like, you're going to give him the ball. You're going to give him the ball.
Guy.
And he was on one. He's been on one for a couple weeks. It's just they look so bad outside of TY against Houston or against Tennessee that you couldn't do much with it. TY was on one last week, and when he's on one, you get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, as a person that has been playing fantasy football for quite some time now, it felt really good to see TY doing well.
It's one of those things. If you remember our first episode of the year, he was my comeback player of the year. He was my guy. This guy's going to have a great year. And we're only, for whatever reason, just now, I don't know if he's been hurt part of the year. I don't know if him and Rivers just never like functioned well together, what it was last week, this week, even the week before that, like you can start to see it start to happen. And man, now he's just on one. And I hope he stays on one because that changes the Colts. And I love Pittman. Pittman's the future. Don't get me wrong. But if the Colts have this bona fide number one, T.Y. Hilton throwing back the clock a couple years to the last year Luck was healthy, this team's going to be a tough out all of a sudden because they're starting to get, they're starting to get healthy back on the defensive line. DeForest Buckner's out there. We saw linebackers and cornerbacks for days. Like that team can be a tough. You don't want to play that team in the playoffs if they're healthy and Ty is also on one, and the offensive line is gelling and we're starting to run the ball well. That's not the team you want to play.
Not at all. Yeah, the Colts are looking solid.
So I mean, don't get me wrong. We still have a good opportunity to go in and blow it because 2 weeks ago we got slaughtered due to COVID and Derrick Henry. So, you can always screw up, but man, they're looking good right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're looking really good going into the playoffs.
Now tell me who's your love, who you're starting, what running back out there is a must start for you.
So this one's going to be a little bit of a leap of faith, but I'm going to go with I'm kind of stacking it in the same context, 2/3 stacking it. So I'm going to go J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins,
and that is before I even see what he does tonight.
Back healthy, you think he's going to be the lead back out there, and I like that.
I'm just so excited for him to finally be what everybody's been holding on to him for this whole year.
No, I totally get it. And what wide receiver out there has just got you too excited to stop talking about it?
I'm going to go with this guy I haven't really given a lot of love to, even though I have him in a bunch of leagues. So he's just kind of he just catches a lot of balls every week, and then he gets concussed every once and again and only gets 0 points. Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. I like that. I like that out of you. Now, who does Pittsburgh have this week?
I knew you were going to ask that, so now I'm looking real quick.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo. I like that. Start. Buffalo's defense. I mean, Ayuk had a nice game last night against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty decent defense against the run, more times than not. But that's not a great pass defense. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do out there. All right, I like that out of you. Now, we ask this every week, and I already kind of gave you one of them. And it's listen, we're going into the playoffs. It's tough to find guys on waivers.
Yep.
T.Y. Hilton's out there in a lot of leagues.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other guys hiding around out there. Is there anyone worth picking up?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'd pick up T.Y. if he's on the waivers somehow. I'd pick up Kiki Kuti if he's on waivers.
Yep.
I'd pick up Logan Thomas if he's on waivers. Seems like Alex Smith loves him some Logan Thomas.
I'll tell you what, I got Logan Thomas in my other league, and I'm like, can Alex Smith be the starter there? Because I'll keep him if Alex Smith is the starter.
Yeah,
he's capable.
Sure.
He's capable,
and he's open. He's been getting open. They've
been open all year. They just haven't had a quarterback to get him the ball till recently. Mercy.
Yeah, and they depending on Gibson, like he got hurt really early. That really hurt me real bad in fantasy. I hope he's all right, just from a human being perspective and stuff, and like moving forward during the playoffs. But oh man, did he get hurt at a bad time? He had like 15 yards, and then suddenly he had I think he had like a foot or a toe injury. But yeah, Logan Thomas is going to get more reps now that that's kind of an issue. At the end of the day, they're going to try and take away the number one weapon, which is McLaurin, and it's going to create opportunities for everybody else on the team.
I like that. Okay. Let me give you some of my players. Okay. So one, I'm going to tell you, going into the playoffs with COVID, with the way everything is, you need to have a backup quarterback. The last thing you want to do is find out Friday night that your guy came down like he's on the COVID list because he was near contact, and you've got to go out and start Drew Lock because you got nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind because you need to make sure that you are covered. So now quarterback this time of year is going to be slim pickings, but you might be looking for someone who's tossing someone back to the pile after using them during one of the last bye weeks. So maybe Tom Brady's back. Who knows? Go find a quarterback, somebody that's at least not hot garbage. A Rivers, maybe a Nate Mullins. I don't know that that's what, or Nick Mullins, excuse me. I don't know that's who I want. Go find somebody and check the schedule. See if maybe they have a favorable schedule. Maybe somebody threw Drew Brees back. I'm hearing he might be back soon. And judging by the fact that Taysom Hill can't throw the football, that's not, they'll look to certainly get him back as soon as humanly possible. Other players out there, it can be slim pickings. Tim Patrick seems to have himself a game here or there. So if you're somebody who's in injury woes and is just looking for a player that fits a build to maybe not completely go zero, Tim Patrick might be somebody. Rashard Higgins has had more good weeks than bad weeks here recently. So look for someone like that who might be able to spring one on you. And there's some leagues, he's rostered in 63%. So, but there are leagues out there where like a Brandon Ayuk is still out there and open. I have to feel like the healthier Deebo Samuel gets, that he becomes less and less. But if he's there, he's got a pretty good rapport with whatever quarterback San Francisco's tossing out there.
Yeah, Deebo looks like a gadget player almost.
A little bit. Yeah,
So
a little bit.
That's exciting. And Ayuk looks like just like kind of like your traditional receiver. So hopefully they can coexist.
Yeah, I think Ayuk for me next year is like he'll be a sleeper pick, a guy that you can get in like the 6th, 7th round. That like he's gonna be a top 20 wide receiver, and if you can get that in the 6th, 7th round, like you've done a pretty good job.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, and for me, for running back, just like if you're desperate, Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson, yep.
Because I believe Frank Gore is hurt, and I know, P. Ryan, Michael P. Ryan is on the IR. So if you need somebody that can get you a spot start in the playoffs, or if you're that desperate, then Ty Johnson's going to be a good pickup. Other than that, I think what you said is spot on. Look for folks that gave up in the league, or maybe aren't paying as much attention as they used to be because they know they're out of it, and see if there's anybody that was dropped that could help you out.
For sure. George, any parting words with the crew? You know what? Before we go to parting words, I'm going to get a little fantasy advice directly from you. We'll put it on the show here. All right. So, George, I got some players to pick from next week. Okay. And I'm not sure who to start, and I want to get your advice on it.
Sure.
All right. So let's assume DeAndre Swift is going to get over his whatever this illness was that kept him out this past week, and he's a full participant for Detroit, who, by the way, is magically still in the playoff hunt. So I feel like if he's healthy, they're going to play him. Swift is playing the 31st ranked defense against the run in Green Bay next week. Mm-hmm. My only concern is that I expect Green Bay to put up plenty of points against Detroit. So they're probably not going to be running the ball a ton, but that still doesn't mean that Swift can't be catching the ball in the backfield. Would you start Swift or Austin Eckler, who's also playing a pretty weak defense himself in Atlanta?
Are those the only options?
Yeah, because the other two running back spots I'm going to start are Aaron Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Assuming McCaffrey's coming off the IR, which I'm going to make that assumption. Or not the IR, but that his rib or whatever is healthy enough to go.
Yeah, so you have a embarrassment of riches there. I would say, and who are the Chargers playing?
The Chargers are playing Atlanta, so another weak defense.
I would say I would go Eckler.
By the way, my other super secret option, like in the hole, is Chris Godwin.
Because
because I'm going to start Diggs and Thielen against Pittsburgh and Tampa, respectively.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, I would definitely, I would sit Swift because I'm waiting for him to get right. He's explosive, and to your point, like even if they're not running the ball because they get far behind, like Swift is a pretty good pass catcher.
Well, he'll be getting all the reps. You can't have Adrian Peterson in there trying to catch the ball. It'll be him and Kerryon Johnson. So
yeah, I would play Eckler. I'm excited
okay.
about Eckler. He can catch a bunch of balls for a lot of yards.
It's kind of my thought, and my only hope is that they don't go full poop bed mode like they did last week.
That doesn't really happen too often. Yeah.
Yeah, where you get blanked 45-0.
That was an anomaly. Yeah.
God, I sure hope so. I'll tell you what, I will say that now the Atlanta defense has been bad. They have magically shown up for a couple of weeks here. They haven't been full what we're used to seeing Atlanta terrible.
Right. Yeah, I think Eckler, you've been waiting for him to come back all this time. Swift has had a couple of really good weeks. Like he's been disappointing this year. Let's be honest. Just because of the fact that he's been sharing the ball, but I think we're partially so excited to get him going that we might be seeing him for more than he really is. But Eckler is just a PPR machine.
Yeah, he is. He is a PPR machine. All right, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to stick with X. I'm feeling really good about Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, and Eckler. Like I wish this was. I need to put next year. This is the league that I'm the manager in. By the way, for those watching, next year I think I'm going to put an extra running back slot. So when I poach running backs off of the waiver wire at the end of the season, I'll be able to just continue to start them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds good to me. And again, just like everybody out there, look out for that. Look out for people that maybe just gave up a little bit and like or got desperate or
every now and again there's someone that they drop somebody who's on IR or who can't play every week because they're desperate for a player instead of being able to wait for him to get healthy. And man, you can that's where you can, like a fantasy league can be won, right? Keeping an eye on those guys coming off IR. And I can't think of anybody, that's going to be on the waiver wire that's coming off IR anytime soon. But man, if you can find one of those, big time.
Yeah, bye weeks are over. Should be the last week for playoffs. Some leagues, there's another week after this, but not that many. So go with who got you to the dance, but also don't be afraid to be a little ballsy with your starts.
I will let you know. You mentioned it was an embarrassment. My projected score this week, it's just projected, but my projected score this week is 143.7. So I'm not upset about it.
No,
feeling good about it.
That's very good.
All right, Georgie, any parting words for the M&M family and faithful out there?
Good luck, everybody. This is the toughest week of the year. This is the put up or shut up playoffs. Last crawl. So good luck, everybody. Hopefully next time you're watching us, you all will be in the playoffs, and I will be in the playoffs for most of my leagues.
Attaboy, that's what I like to hear. All right, well, we'll see you on the other side of the break. When we come back, we've got the pickups for you. See you then.